Right, so Alea, what'd you make?
So I created what I call a rejuvenating hair mask. I've dubbed it Hair and the motto that I wanted it for it is like hair's the clear choice. So this is what it kind of looks like, and it's supposed to have the smell of coconut, so that's what it smells like. So I wanted to make this product because I wanted the curly hair products that I use to not only be environmentally friendly, but also engage the benefits of normal hair products like shine and nourishment to the hair. So I wanted to achieve that, and I also designed a placeholder for the hair mask. So the idea behind this is that you would take some of the hair mask, you would freeze it, and then when you're ready to use it, you take it out and you dampen the hair with hot water, and you kind of take the frozen and you guide it through the
Oh,
hair
okay.
like that so
Yeah.
it can coat each strand. So that is what I
How
made.
did you make the holder there?
Oh, the holder, this was 3D printed. So we used the program called, I forgot what it's called.
Probably Tinkercad.
Tinkercad, yeah. So we use Tinkercad, and basically on that program, you get to discover and make certain shapes with the sizing that would happen in the real world. And then after that, and after you were happy with everything that you made, you were able to get it updated and 3D printed, which I
Nice. All
think is
right.
pretty cool.
So with some mainstream hair care products, there are often compromises, right, that kind of go into them. So what would be some of the compromises that go into like mainstream hair products?
I think one of the bigger compromises is the fact that some of the marketing may be a little bit discriminatory. So there was this scandal that happened with one of the most famous hair care products for curly hair, and it's the fact that they didn't represent the actual users within their commercial. So they would the where what the product who the product is marketed to and who they showed and glorified in their commercial weren't the same people. So people were a little angry at the fact that the two things didn't add up, but they were the customers buying the product, so they didn't like that a lot. Another thing was a story that happened, I think, in the US. So a shop completely closed down the whole curly hair section for products. Um, and they locked it. And so that means customers couldn't buy. And obviously, people were furious because all the other hair products that weren't marketed to curly hair were completely open, but they were locked. So a woman actually went and sued the company for that because, of course, that's crazy and should be stopped. So that's some of the bigger compromises that happen.
All right. So when we design things, oftentimes we have to have kind of like actual compromises in our products as well. So what were some of the compromises and or some of the things that you had to consider when you were making your design?
Yeah, so I originally wanted to make sure that every single product I had in my hair mask was not only good for the environment, but also protected the welfare of others. But of course, that was kind of hard to manage, especially with a key ingredient in my hair mask, which was the coconut. So, coconut are produced mainly by Southeast Asian farmers. And basically, what is going on is the fact that there are many manufacturing plants. So the farmers are actually losing out money in this big industry boom. So there's this thing called monocropping, and it's a way to get the more amount of coconuts in the fastest way possible. But the thing is that it uses terrible, harsh chemicals to fertilize the coconuts to get them ready fast for manufacturing, and it completely depletes the land of all its minerals. So that means that after a certain time they can no longer use that to grow, which can be pretty concerning. And also the small farmers in their marginalized communities, they don't really reap the benefits of the big boom of the production. So that is a problem when it comes to the coconuts.
Yeah, so it sounds like kind of through some cases of modern agriculture, huge amounts of resources, huge amounts of people, huge amounts of technology, and huge amounts of science
Right.
have gone into making that our current future, our current reality, right? So it's like they have a competing or a different vision of the future and what farming is, for instance, right? So when you were making your product, right, you had features in your product that were unique. Did you have a different future in mind that didn't include that monoculture or that monocropping?
So my vision of the future, initially, still is right now, is that every single product, like in itself, would not contribute to carbon emissions, but if there was a way to actually absorb them instead. So when I talked about the fertilizers of the monocropping, that also adds to the fact that the environment is not like slowly deteriorating because they're using it so much with harsh chemicals that it completely, like I said, takes away all the minerals. So that was a part of my vision of the future. Another way that I created that is the fact of the plastic that I use. So I use in PLA, there's like latex monomers, I think it's called, and they're basically produced by sugarcane and other things.
There's some corn
There's
sugar in there
corn sugar,
too.
yeah, stuff like that. And the cool thing about this is that I think you call it a thermatic plastic or something along the lines.
Oh, thermoplastic. Yep.
Along the lines of that. And the fact is that because it's the way it is, it doesn't produce a lot of carbon emissions. It actually almost produces zero, which is super cool. And something I think most products should have at the end of the day.
So you're not so reliant, because the plastic industry is typically reliant
Exactly.
on crude oil, fossil fuels, and instead you're making a plastic-like product with a greatly reduced kind of
Exactly.
environmental footprint, right? All right, so you're basically talking then about products of science and kind of scientific innovations that increase the well-being for living things,
Right.
besides just like, the well-being of people
Right.
as like, the quote-unquote superior organism type thing, right?
Yeah.
So is that something that you're kind of trying to keep in mind a little bit?
Yes. So, of course, many of the living beings, obviously, in our world are humans, but the environment is very much alive. There's so many amazing things that are living in there, and I feel like it's something that kind of gets looked over our for our benefit. Like, we want to think about ourselves first before we think about our environment. So, due to the rising level of automations in many manufacturing companies and organizations, these produced items are using a variety of chemicals, which obviously isn't very good for the world that we live around. So it also, though, if we don't even want to think about the environment, which is a big thing, it doesn't really help us either in the long run and our health. Like, of course, the environment is getting damaged as well, but we also are too. So there's two things to think about in everything. There's many different type of living things, and it's something to take into account. My approach, I believe, is better for society in terms of the production area or manufacturing area, because it uses sustainable materials without damaging or depleting the land that we have around us. So it's better sustainability in terms of resourcing for the environment. So this is an idea that I think is crucial for the future. So that is why it's my vision.
All right. Thank you, Leah.